Late Night Health continues with our regular contributor, Robert Clancy, the author of Soul Cyphers, a top-selling book on Amazon.com. Congratulations. I think that's UK, Canada, and the US, Robert?
Yep, it is.
Congratulations. I mean, that's really fabulous. We're very, very proud of you. We really are. I feel that I discovered him. I have to take the credit, you know. We're going to have an extended time with Robert today. We do this every little bit, and we thought we'd talk about authenticity. Robert's got some things to be proud of in his life, too. So let's start with his thoughts about authenticity, and then we'll get into our conversation.
Sure. My inspirational thought on authenticity is the divine brings truth to your life, but only you can bring honesty to it. And seek truth by being true to yourself. And, I was reminded of this. My son is actually just finishing his Eagle requirements for his Boy Scout Eagle badge. And he's been in Boy Scouts, in fact, Cub Scouts, since he was in first grade. It's something he's always wanted. He's stuck with it. And even after maybe it wasn't as cool to be a Boy Scout later in high school with his girlfriend and everything, he stuck with it, and he said, no, this is something I want. It's something I, will carry with me in my life, and he's seen the importance of it. He had two things. He had to install a drop ceiling in a church basement, and this is probably 1,500 square feet. It's huge.
Wow. That's what you were doing on Sunday.
Yes, that's what I was doing on Sunday for 5 straight hours, and we had already put in about 15 hours prior to this to finish it up. And, I was a little disappointed because only one other scout showed up to help him with his Eagle project. And he was there for all the other scouts and all their Eagle projects and volunteered and did all these things. And even the Scoutmaster, we didn't get a message saying, hey, I can't make it or anything, and he didn't even show up. So, I'm kind of angry. Now there's 3 of us. We really need 8 to finish this thing. And the other kid, the other Boy Scout said, you know what, I'm going to stay here to the end. And Sean said, hey, we'll get this done, and I got, if I have to rearrange tomorrow, I'll come back and do it. And he's really motivated to get it done. And it reminded me that, people have things that happen in their life. He just went on his way. He said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And he said, let's not be mad at the other people. Maybe they had something going on. Let's just focus and get this done. I'm committed to doing this. And he's always been true to himself in that regard.
Do people not, are people not true to themselves? Do they not? They say something and they don't do it. They flake.
Well, I don't think it's exactly that you have to, say something and not be true to that. It's really about being true to who you are and what you bring to the world. And, when I look at my son's journey so far, he's always been a calm kid. He's always sort of taken the high road. He's always let things roll off of him pretty easily. He doesn't really get upset about those types of things, and he's really found his way. And he's had some, pretty big situations to deal with as he's been growing up, and I'm really proud of the way that he handles things. And I can see that, he is living his true life because that's who he is. He does care about people. He especially cares about animals and, giving back, and he's volunteered at the food bank to help feed people, but he just goes in, does it, and then he just goes home. It's not, he doesn't look for any fanfare. In fact, with his Eagle badge, he doesn't want to have that big giant ceremony and do all, where there's a lot of hoopla, as he just said, I just want to you can just give me the badge at a scout, meeting, a regular scout meeting, and I'm fine with that because it's not about him. It's about what he did.
That's really cool. I mean, that really is. A lot of people would want the adulation, the slap on the back.
Yeah.
Is that necessarily wrong, though?
No, it's not wrong. It can be a great motivator. It's just that his particular way of being true to himself is not to bring that kind of attention to himself. And he'd rather let, what he did stand. And he said, you know what I'm really proud of? That when the scouts meet in this basement, for all the future coming forward, I helped put that new ceiling in to make this place look better. That's what he said when he was done with it.
That's amazing. That really is. I think a lot of people would be mad that the other guys didn't show up. And it shows that he's. I'm gonna say that he must be an old soul, because he knew that the right thing to do was to just get the job done.
Well, how we handled it is we just had humor, because my wife showed up with pizza for like 12.
Oh,
and there's
no.
3 of us there. and we said, well, it looks like we're going to have a lot of leftovers unless, you can get some people in here. And so we just had this huge feast there. But, he approached it with just the rest of the day we were laughing about, how much food was there. And what really made a difference is the pastor from the church came down, smiling ear to ear. And she just said, I just really want to thank you for what you and this organization has done for our community, because they have a food bank in there for the local residents, and they come into that space. And now there's this new ceiling. They'd gotten the lights donated from a large school that was nearby that was renovating, and they took out the old lights, which were perfectly fine, and they worked perfect in this drop ceiling. So now they have more efficient lighting, and it brightened the whole space up. And these people that have to come in to get their food, their resources, are now in this nice, clean, brightly lit space.
We are talking about authenticity. It's a word that has been used a lot. Be authentic. The first time I heard this term was I was in a voiceover class. And Daryl, have you heard that? Be authentic in your voice?
Absolutely.
And
it changed. I mean, it used to be in radio in the beginning, you had to have these big booming talk from the pulpit kind of voices. And then, in the late 70s,
right.
Mid 70s to late 70s, it was more conversational. You're supposed to have a conversation, coffee cup conversation across the water cooler, across the table. And rather than announcing to people, you were talking with them.
Right, and not even to them.
With them, yeah.
Right, with them. And
conversation.
And that was the first time, though, that I had heard the term used for broadcasting or voiceover work to be, authentic. Be yourself. And that's really what you're talking about, huh, Robert?
Absolutely. And, it gets thrown around a lot. There's authentic leadership and, be authentic. And there's people that specialize in that. This is really comes down to living who you are and being honest with who you are and stepping into that role of what you bring to the world in that regard. And I always think of, if you're going to be authentic, you have to be in touch with your heart. It's the best muscle that you have in your soul, and work it out. That's the key. Do a good workout with that every day.
But a lot of people are not in touch with that muscle. It's the muscle of life, right? They're not
Absolutely.
in touch with their heart, their feelings. They shield them off. They cut them off. Why do people do that?
Well, it's when you feel, it's almost being judgmental, and if you feel that somebody is not in touch with you or not understanding who you are, they can shut down. And there's so many pieces to that when you're out there, it's being judgmental in some regard of giving somebody that second chance. And there's no second chance to make a first impression. But when you're also in that, you should also take a second look is really the key. There should be a second part to that quote,
What do you mean?
Well, when if you're going to, when you don't have a second chance to make a first impression,
right.
On the other side, when you're obtaining that first impression, maybe you do have to do a second look, because maybe that person was going through something that day, and that's not who they are to themselves.
Now that makes sense. I remember doing a pre-interview with a guest. I was working at a radio station in the South, and the general manager asked me to interview somebody. So I went to this person's place, and we sat and talked, and it was terrible. It was not a good feeling to me. And I had to think about what to do, how to schedule an interview with somebody that I just didn't feel good about. Well, it turned out it wasn't her, it was me. My mother was going through surgery in Los Angeles. I couldn't be with her. And I had a lot going on. And so I recognized that after a day or two, called her up and said, could I come back? Could we talk some more? And we met, we talked, had a cup of coffee, and everything was fine. She was really quite lovely. And it was a great interview. We had a good conversation together. My point is that I understand what you're saying, that you can have a bad day, and it can affect your impression of somebody that you're just meeting, and vice versa.
Right. Exactly, yeah. And I love this quote by Oscar Wilde. So, whenever I think of being authentic, I think of Oscar Wilde. It's be yourself because everyone else is already taken. You really have to be yourself. So being authentic to me is called living.
Yeah, absolutely. But so many people put on a facade, and they want you to think of them in one way, and they're a different way. I mean, I try to be transparent. I think we all have our secrets and things that we keep hidden, but for the most part, I try to be as authentic and real as possible. And I find that a lot of people hide behind themselves, if you will.
Yeah. And that's part of it. And some people put on that smile to face the world, and you really need to take off your mask. And I have these metaphors, or I see physically, when you remove the mask, that's how people can really love you for who you are.
I like that one. That relates. I remember, and keep in mind, I love my mother, but in the fifth grade, I got an award for always having a smiling face, and she said, "Only idiots smile all the time." But I was a happy kid. Robert Clancy is going to continue our conversation. He is the author of Soul Cyphers, and it's a #1 bestseller internationally. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to be speaking with somebody that Robert and I met at the same time. Danian Brinkley. That's what I was going to tell you this morning, and I forgot. Danian Brinkley is going to be on the show on Late Night Health in about 10 minutes from now. All right, don't go away. Late Night Health continues, and thank you, Robert, for building LateNightHealth.com. LateNightHealth.com.
Welcome to Guide to the Soul. This is Robert Clancy. Hope is one of those words that has no synonyms. It just simply is, and it's something that you'll have in your life as long as you want it. You can only lose hope when you choose to let go of it. So why let go? Each day of your life is a blank canvas, and you will always have a choice on how you paint it. It takes courage to take a journey of hope, but it's up to you to take that first step. And it's always accomplished by taking one step at a time. Hope is the greatest beacon you have to help you find your way out of the shadows of darkness, back to the light of a new day.
For more inspiration from Robert Clancy, visit GuideToTheSoul.com or go to the Moments with Robert page on LateNightHealth.com.
If you or someone you love suffers from drug addiction, now is the time to utilize your private health insurance PPO plan. If eligible, receive up to $30,000 or more in substance abuse benefits with low or no out-of-pocket cost. We are the National Treatment Network, the premier drug and alcohol treatment referral service operating 24/7. We help connect you with facilities nationwide that accepts PPO private health insurance for substance abuse. If you have PPO substance abuse coverage and you need immediate admittance to a medical detox or residential rehab treatment center, call us now. Call our live referral helpline today. The call is free. This program is not available to Medicare or Medicaid customers.
Call 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. That's 800-296-1252.